If you're a therapy business owner and you just started or you've been in the game for a couple of years, but you don't know what a CRM is, let me help you. And if you're not sure which one to pick, let me also help you. My name is Huang. I'm an occupational therapist and certified hand therapist, and I have my own clinic and an online program. And I had someone ask me, what is a CRM? A CRM essentially is a customer relationship management tool. And what it does is it helps you to build a community and talk to people who would be interested in your services. So, let me share a little bit of this backstory. I had a therapist who's starting her own business ask about what a CRM is. And she felt stupid asking about it. And I was like, don't feel stupid. Yes, this is something you can look up, but at the same time, it's not just looking it up. The question really came with which one should you pick, right? So I want to share with you a little bit of my experience and share with you what I use and why, right? Which is really important. When I first started my business, I had no idea what a CRM is, and so if that's you too, please don't feel stupid. It's totally okay. I had no idea what it stood for, even though I kind of knew that there was something in the space. And this was over 10 years ago, and it was really just starting to come out, but big businesses were using it, but small little businesses were getting stuff like MailChimp, right? Back in the day, MailChimp was free and you could send bulk emails. Well, that's in a nutshell what a CRM is: a customer relationship management tool that helps you to communicate with a bunch of people versus just writing one email at a time, right? But a CRM tool can be so much more powerful than just sending out emails for your newsletter, okay? So when I first started, I heard of it like that, like MailChimp, and let me write out bulk emails. And nowadays, there's even more. Back then, it was MailChimp, ActiveCampaign that I could think of, um, a million more. And I was introduced to Keep. Right. Back then, it was called Infusionsoft, and I still use that. A lot of people make fun of it and they call it Confusionsoft because it can be a little bit confusing. But I think if you're not a tech person, I'm not a tech person, if you're not a tech person, all of these things can be really confusing. And all of them talk about how they can make your life easier. And like there's all this stuff that's built out for you, and that you don't even have to do anything. You just buy their stuff. And it's so easy. Well, to a certain extent, it can be, but there's some complicated aspects, which is more about like what you need and which one you should pick based on your service, right? So if you're building out a therapy clinic, right? When I first started, I was building out my therapy clinic, and I thought that I could go and just do something like MailChimp because it was really easy, it was cheap, it was free. And then it got me like, I forgot what got me thinking um, that maybe getting something free and cheap wasn't as valuable as getting something that I really needed. And what I want to encourage with you is, when you're thinking about which ones to pick, think about your growth, not just of where you are right now, but where I think you dream to be. So when I first got into picking a CRM software, um, I had nothing. I had a therapy clinic and it was just me. And I was looking to hire, I had hired a front desk, and I was on my way to hiring a therapist. And I was thinking, what can I do with the CRM? They all seem so expensive. And the only thing I was doing was sending out emails. But the thing is that you sort of, when you're picking a tool, I would encourage you to dream a little bit bigger about what you want to do, and how, in a way, how big you want to get, right? So I thought at that time, when I was thinking between cheap and free, I was thinking it would just be me and maybe one other person, and that, and I didn't really understand the whole marketing system that you have to build out. So that is the most important part of a customer relationship management tool, and why you should pick the one you pick, because it's more than just sending out bulk emails, or it's more than just sending out one newsletter. um, it is about attracting people into your services that can utilize your services, right? So I talk a lot about post-surgical hand cases, and I'll share with you how I use my CRM. So I wrote a guide on like what you should do after surgery for people who have surgery and don't know what to do, right? And this is the thing. In the hand therapy world, um, if you're inside a doctor's office, the doctor says go to my therapist, and you go to your therapist. They don't even ask. What happens is there's so many other patients that don't go to a surgeon that has their own therapist, or they go to their surgeon that has their own therapist, and maybe for whatever reason they don't like their therapy services. It's too far, it's too crowded, they're not getting results, whatever it is. A lot of people have surgery and they feel really confused and they don't know what to do. Now, there's some people who just do whatever the doctor says, but then there's a really great group of people who are curious, who don't feel like something in their gut tells them this is not right, or something tells them, hey, maybe I should look for some clues or some education, and they might fall upon my guide. So I wrote a guide that's like all about after surgery care, because as a therapist, I would always get patients who came in, a month late, didn't know what to do right after they had surgery. And now they can find my guide where I lay out all the tips that I have. Because one of the things that I find that people say is, I thought that I needed to close the wound before starting therapy. And I'm like, you don't need to do that. You actually need to come before the wound closes, because by the time the wound closes, you might already be behind, right? So with my customer relationship management tool, I was able to write up a guide and then build out what's called a funnel. So the funnel is like this. So it's a little bit more than this, but someone comes and they grab my guide, and then inside my funnel, right, I write them an email. I write them the first email, and then I write them a second email, and I write them a third email, and I write them a fourth email, write them a fifth email, and so on, so on. All I'm doing is trying to feed them or give them a very specific amount of information, little bit by little bit by little bit. Because I don't know if you know, but when you have surgery, it's extremely confusing. You're in pain. You either had an accident, or you are thinking about choosing to have surgery. So people want to know, right? So what I'm doing is I'm trying to educate the general public in terms of what I know, right? Now, my tool, my CRM software allows me to build out what we call a campaign or a funnel that says, hey, here's this piece of information, here's this video, here's this piece of education. I am literally just sharing my perspective as a hand therapist who has a lot of years of experience in working with hand injuries, and I want to educate them to make the best possible decision for what they need, right? Along the way, if they choose me, right, they can get started with me. Now, what my CRM software does is it increases the chances of them picking me. That's all I'm doing with my CRM software. Most patients, if they get hurt, they're lost, they're confused, they don't know what to do. right? They go wherever their doctor tells them to go, but sometimes it's just not enough. They want more information. They want to know, is this right? And is what I'm doing correct? Right? I just had somebody come into my office. I want to say she came in a month ago. She had surgery with the surgeon. She fell, she broke her arm. She had surgery with the surgeon, and the surgeon said, go to my therapist. They have a big center, go to my therapist. And the therapy is, it's good. It's nothing wrong with the therapy. Therapy center is great, but something was telling her that it wasn't quite right because one, she wasn't getting the results. Two, she was in a lot of pain, which, is normal, right? To a certain extent. So my guide essentially helps people to know what to look for, right? And well, long story short, she needed a second surgery and she was like, well, what went wrong, right? My guide that I've written on after surgery care and what you should consider and what you should think, she grabbed it, right? She grabbed it and I wrote her an email, right? And then I waited a day or two or whatever, and I sent her another one, and I sent her another one. And what that allows me to do is that allows me to automatically talk to her without bothering her. That's all I get to do. So that is a customer relationship management tool. So it is more than it is so much more than just sending bulk emails. It is so much more than um, sending, your newsletter email out, right? The CRM is a software that is used and built into your whole marketing strategy, your marketing systems and processes. It's a really important tool nowadays. I think especially nowadays. When I first started over 10 years ago, I don't think it was as popular, though it was starting to be popular. People were already using it for the last, 5 or more years. And here I was just slow to the roll, right? Because I had absolutely no idea. I had no OT sharing with me, what they had or what they used. And then here's the thing is how you pick one, right? How you pick one. Nowadays, there's so many that it can get really confusing about which one you pick, right? I have used MailChimp. There's been a lot of changes. I have not been privy to those changes. I don't use it. I used it for like a hot second and I chose not to use it. I looked at Active Campaign at that time because it was also cheap. And something in my gut told me, Huang, don't buy a program for how little you are right now. Buy into a program and learn into a program for how big you want to get. And that's my encouragement to you. There's a lot of OT. So which one should I pick? I got the one that's cheap. I got the one that's free with my website or whatever. I understand that when you're starting out or you're a couple years into it, I don't know how many years into it, you're looking at your expenses because you're trying to keep all the money in your pocket. I get it. I know. I've been doing it for a while. 2 businesses. Expenses are out of control sometimes, but you do need to spend money to make money. And you have to think about how much time it will save you and the work that the program can do for you automated if you build it out correctly, right? Computers don't know what to do or how to do it unless you tell it exactly what you want, which requires you to know what you want, right? So this is some of what I do inside my OT Business Corner course. It's like really helping you understand what you want and how you want to grow it so that you can make decisions like this one, right? Because here is the thing, when you decide to pick the program that you're working with, it requires your time and attention to learn it. There is what we call sweat equity in it. You have to put your time and attention to it, and you can't think about this. This is a learning phase for you. You can't make quote unquote money with every hour and every minute. You have to think that the hours and minutes that you're using right now will build you, well, the money will come in later if you do it correctly, right? So I did what considered active campaign, all that good stuff. And I said, no, I, happened around on Keep and I started exploring it. And I was like, somehow or another, it just made sense to me. It had a lot of what I was looking for at the time. And you could have X number of emails. And I mean, I have like a handful of emails like this. But I was like, oh my God, I could have thousands of people who need my help, who I could speak to. Right. And so I started to learn Keep. I spent my time, I spent my money, and purchased into the program. Since then, I've used ClickFunnels, I've used Go High Level, and I've used how do you call it, Kajabi, right? So I love Kajabi for my program side. If you're watching this on Hand Therapy Secrets and you've been a student of mine, I've talked about this before, but I really like Kajabi, and I'm actually in the process now of really learning more and more how to use Kajabi, because Kajabi is a really huge program. So a lot of people are like, oh, but it's so expensive. Again, if you're creating an online platform, you can pick cheap, free, whatever, but I would just encourage you to think like how big you want to become, what that platform can do for you, in terms of, even though you're learning it now, how it can save you money and time later on, so that you're not just thinking of like right now, like, oh, right now, what do I need to do? So if you're much bigger and you have the money, then you don't need to learn everything. You need to just pick the program and then hire the person who can do everything inside the program for you, so you don't have to learn, right? So you got to be making a lot more money than that. But so yeah, you can do that too. You can hire various virtual assistants who know these programs, who can also build things out for you. I personally, I do that as well. It's not that I don't use VA help or someone who has a specific knowledge to help me build it out, but I also, me personally, because things change quite a bit, or I'm adding certain things and I am very impatient. I don't want to wait on people to give me my shit like a week later. When I want it now. So I personally like to learn the key things about it, and then I know what I want to do with the program, and then I have people who help me execute on it. But I do know the fundamentals about it and how to build it out. So, and all of it, don't worry, it takes time. It takes time to learn. But if you are, struggling with your CRM, if you are not sure which one to pick, you can use any of the links below, and see if you want to work with me specifically for me to help you with those decisions, or just helping you build something out, completely up to you. But if you're just starting out, you're a couple years into it, and you're thinking, let me get serious about this customer relationship management tool, which one should I pick? It's a really important decision to make, because once you put your time and effort and energy into it, this is a software that you can use for years. I have used mine for years. I have used it. I've used Keep for years, and I have it on both sides of my businesses. Yeah. So, and I've been using Kajabi for the last several years. I've been using Go High Level. I'm about to get rid of some. I'm about to get rid of. So it's too many. It's too many. And that's the other thing too, is you can have too many. So I'm making the decision based on what's best for my business and for my growth. And so you have to do the same. But don't be shy about picking a CRM. Don't be shy about, trying it out. But really stick to one, build out for one, and 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 do that because you don't want to spend your time later on, like, oh, every year or 2 years, just, learning some new platform, because it's extremely time consuming, you know? So making this decisions is an important decision. So, uh, but don't do it just on like, oh, it's free and oh, it's cheap, right? Do it because you are looking at the different aspects of what you want to do with your business in terms of growth. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. Like, if you're not growing, you're dying. It's easier it's easier to grow it than just to like leave it stagnant. There's pros and cons to everything. Anyway, I hope this video helps you in terms of thinking through what your customer relationship management tool software can do for you and how to pick one. If you have any comments, leave me a comment below. If you want to work with me personally, there's some links below that you can check out. All right. Peace out until next time. Thanks.